All right, it is August 31st, and I'd like to call tonight's Board of Public Works meeting to order. The first agenda item is public appearances for non-agenda items, and we do have two guests that would like to speak, so I don't know if Tom Clouder, I know you're one of the guests, would you mind kicking us off?
Sure, that's fine. That's fine, sir. Tom Clotter, 2583 Norwich Street, City of Fitchburg. I'm actually here representing District 4, which is the district I represent on the City Council. The first item I want to tell you about and talk about is water issue. I know that you've heard of it before, but these are more, the issues I'm talking about are resident issues. Residents, and I'll explain. I have one resident that actually took his gutter from his downspout and ran it into his neighbor's yard. I did contact Public Works. We've contacted Jack Pearson. And we don't have, it's interesting, we don't have an ordinance against this. We don't have anything that can stop it. So this isn't going to happen tonight, but I'm hoping in the future, possibly Public Works can take something up like this. And I got two more for you. Then I have another one where an individual tapered his lawn off his driveway so it goes into the neighbor's yard. Same scenario. We really don't have anything in our ordinances that stops that. The last one I have is Bill knows about, and the gentleman is so upset. A neighbor dammed up a waterway that goes to his backyard that goes into a ditch line. They dammed it up to put a flower bed or some type of flowers. It flooded out the neighbor's backyard. On all of these scenarios, I'm trying to say we don't have anything, so if Public Works in the future could maybe look at an ordinance to stop this. I've been around the block with Jack Pearson about this, so you don't really want to ask him. I mean, he was good about it. He came out, we talked about it, but we don't have any leverage on stuff like this. So I just wish you would take it up in the future maybe. And if it's all right with the chair, I'll just speak on another issue. It's on your agenda, but it's early, the sidewalk issue. Can I do it now, or do you want me to wait?
I know, Pat, are there rules for this?
Yeah, you should wait until the agenda item comes up.
Okay, that I kind of figured. Sorry, Tom, would you mind waiting?
You know, you just make me go sit down and stand up and come back. You know that.
Perfect. All right, we're efficient. So anything else for non-agenda? No. All right. Thank you.
Jason, you're here for non-agenda, are you not?
Yeah, I don't believe I'm on the agenda.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Jason Geiger here on behalf of myself regarding the property at 5633 Lacey Road. I was here last month, or actually a couple weeks ago, I think it was. But anyway, this is regarding I submitted a CSM, a new CSM for that property. It's 1.8 acres, and I submitted a CSM to divide it into 4 parcels. One which has a house, existing home, and the other 3 which are 3 new building sites. We went through the process. The Planning Commission required sidewalks on Oak Knoll, connecting to the existing sidewalk on Oak Knoll. And I agreed to that. It makes perfect sense. We talked about sidewalks on Lacey Road. The Planning Commission agreed with me that now is not the time to add those sidewalks on Lacey Road. However, that was kind of slipped in there with the subdivision improvement agreement that's a must requirement to put sidewalks in on Lacey Road. So I'm here tonight asking you to amend that SIA agreement, and without that requirement, here are my reasons why I guess it's best to wait. First of all, there's no future time frame to connect. On that block on Lacey Road, there's 9 parcels, 2 of which are part of my 2 acres. There's no sidewalk there right now, and, there's no, yep,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but you are on the agenda tonight.
okay,
The first agenda item is 4A, the discussion of subdivision associated with the sidewalk.
okay.
That is this, is this something besides the sidewalk discussion, or?
No, I guess I wasn't aware I was on the agenda.
And I guess, Bill, I looked you, I mean, am I correct? This is that plot of land.
I haven't seen the agenda, so I have no idea.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess, just want to make sure do you mind just if I verify that no one else from the public wants to speak on non-agenda items before we dive into the agenda?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, thank you. All right, Scott, I'm sorry, is there anyone else online or in the building that would like to talk on a non-agenda item?
Nope, we're clear now.
Perfect, all right, then if we can quick move to, well, not quick, but if we can move to 3A, approval of the August 17th meeting minutes. Thank you.
I still move we approve the August 17 meetings.
I'll second the motion.
Great. Any comments or concerns? Perfect. All those in favor of approving the August 17th minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Okay, motion carries. I am very slow to actually realizing this, but Bill, do we actually have a quorum without Dave here?
He got it.
We only have 3 people.
That's all we need. That's all we need.
We have a quorum.
Okay, sorry. Just didn't know if I was missing people or, okay. Sorry. Okay, then, moving on to 4A. This is the discussion of the subdivision improvement agreement associated with the sidewalk construction for CSM 234520 at 5633. This was put on the agenda as a result of the April 21st meeting. Jason, I guess first, this is just a discussion item, so there's nothing I don't think, there's no action, but, I guess, Bill, do you mind if what would you recommend? Would you like to speak to this, or would you like to have, Jason and Tom speak to it? I would go with your recommendation.
Jason and Tom can finish their public input, and then I can go through the staff report.
Sarah, we also have a third person here who'd like to speak on this as well.
Oh, thank you. I apologize. Okay. We're getting on track. So 4A, Jason, do you mind kicking us off then
Yep.
with your conversation?
Yep, sure. So, I handed out a map. I know, not everybody's familiar with this block or probably been out there, to see it in person. But, there's 9, potentially right now there's 8 parcels, but there would be 9 parcels on Lacey Road on this block that do not have sidewalks. As of right now, I'm required on the 2 of the parcels to put in sidewalk on Lacey Road from Oak Knoll to the second parcel. And I guess I'm asking you to approve it without doing that, because there's no future time frame to connect the other 7 parcels on Lacey Road. As far as I know and what I've been told is the current Lacey Road homeowners do not want sidewalks. If the future homeowners do, it makes sense to do it all at once. The new homeowners on Lacey Road that will be living in the house and will be building do not want to shovel snow and maintain sidewalks that are not being used. The cost to install these sidewalks is extremely expensive on this portion of the property on Lacey Road and will not allow this project to continue. The most important benefits of this project to the city of Fitchburg is completing the sidewalks on Oak Knoll and allowing 3 new taxpayers, 3 new families to move to Fitchburg, enjoy living in Fitchburg. And so that's what I'm asking you to focus on, is those benefits, and amend the SIA to not require that those sidewalks on Lacey Road. That's all I have.
Sorry. Thank you for coming in, Jason.
Yep.
Tom, do you want to come back up and give your statement for 4A?
Thanks, Sarah. Now, for the record, I've been there before. Tom Clotter, 2583 Norwich Street. Fitchburg, I'm actually representing constituents. I'm not here for any other reason. I know it's just a discussion tonight, but these sidewalks have been a problem in the city of Fitchburg, especially for our old neighborhoods. Where we have established neighborhoods, I totally get it. You're putting in new sidewalks, you're putting in new areas where people would like to walk, and it's not that they can't walk in old neighborhoods, but it's tough on the taxpayers, really tough. Let me just give you a little example here what's going on. When you come out of Richardson and you go towards the school, if you go towards the west, there's a sidewalk. That sidewalk goes back in history when I was around. And that's because of the school in Wildwood South wanted a sidewalk going to the school. So you have a sidewalk going up Lacey Road west of Richardson for a reason. If you go east of Richardson, there's no sidewalk. Not to say that people, and this was a big discussion when the library was built. Should we put sidewalks in from Richardson going east? We decided at the time not to do it. It wasn't needed. You also have about 7 homeowners along there that I'm speaking for that don't want sidewalks. And I know the deal. The city will pay for it for the first couple years, and then it's on the taxpayer. The deal is if you go up Richardson, if you go up Lacey Road from Fish Hatchery, if you don't know where I am, on the north side of the road, there's a sidewalk. It stops at, it was just discussed, Oak Knoll. It stops right there. This gentleman wants to put sidewalks to finish on Oak Knoll. It's not a problem. Again, you go past Oak Knoll on Lacey, you go up to the west, there's no sidewalk. It's very interesting how this occurred too, which I definitely not agreeing with. It went to the Plan Commission and was voted down. And it really irked me, to be honest with you. Then it came to the city council and it was passed. I questioned it at the time. The city council should have the trump card over the Plan Commission, over the Public Works Department. And I say that with respect. I'm not. The Plan Commission voted that down. The Public Works Department said, no, we need a sidewalk. Well, I'm here to tell you we don't need a sidewalk. The sidewalk that this gentleman would put in at thousands of dollars goes nowhere. It goes nowhere. Now, I understand there might be in the future of some business on Fish Hatchery Road selling out. That's fine. We can deal with that when it comes. Through COVID, through people being laid off for work, through people worrying about their taxes because of it's a thing called tax increase. And I'll listen to your discussion about the sidewalk. This is not the time to even be thinking about putting a sidewalk on Lacey Road to tax these people. If you're understanding me, I'm come to an end. If you come out of Oak Knoll on Lacey, this gentleman would have to put a sidewalk in for like 3 lots, and then they stop. It goes nowhere. I'm saying in the future, that's fine if we have to put the sidewalks in. But as of right now, my phone started to ring because of this being on the agenda tonight, and some people watched the city council passing it because of Public Works. You know, I know people like to walk, I get it. I know they like to bike, I get it. But I sure hope you send this back to the city council with no recommendation for the sidewalk. The sidewalk. And if you haven't driven it, go out and take a look. It will go nowhere. Food for thought. In the future, if a business comes on Lacey Road at Fish Hatchery, fine. Let the city council and the people deal with it at that time. Let them deal with it. Let the present mayor or the next mayor deal with it. But don't do this to this guy, because the sidewalk goes nowhere. Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Tom. All right, and then is Aaron in, Scott? Is that what you said?
Yep, he'll be here in a second.
Okay, thank you. So one last public comment. We get a little liberal with our 3 minutes in Public Works here, but yeah, sorry.
I'll try and keep it to 3 minutes or less.
No, you get, I don't mean to.
Already putting the hammer down on me. Wow. All right. She gets a little power and goes right to her head.
No.
Just kidding. Aaron Richardson from Fitchburg on McGaw Road. And I'm here to, I guess, disagree with the two distinguished gentlemen before me. I understand why you might not want to put in sidewalks, especially if you have to pay for them. But for me, the biggest problem with doing that is as soon as we start giving exceptions to people, it gets thrown in our face. We've seen it with a number of different things in the city, and this is really our opportunity right now to get those in there. I realize that it's not going to connect all the way to Richardson, but you know that is an area that I'm told the next week I'll publicly be able to talk a little bit more about some of the redevelopment. I think it's going to increase some of the foot traffic, or at least the desire for foot traffic in that area. So to me, really the biggest thing is if we have these requirements, we need to follow these requirements. This is really our one opportunity to get these sidewalks in. I understand if it's expensive, I wouldn't want to pay for it either. If that's really going to tip the scale of developing this, then I guess that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the margins are that tight on there, but really I think that I've seen it in a number of other instances that we need to be consistent. We need to hold all of our developers to the same standards, because if we don't, it'll come back to bite us. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. All right.
Sarah,
Yes.
I also have a public comment.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry about that. I didn't register. I wanted to do this from my office, so I didn't have to wear a mask. But anyway, I just wanted to echo what the mayor stated. Every development that we do throughout the year, and you see it on city council, this board sees it come through. We require all of our developers to put the sidewalk in at time of land division and or development. And to provide an exception in any case would put us in a very tough situation, not only with future developers, but the developers we've required this of in the past. We've required not only sidewalk, but like bike trail development in areas and neighborhoods that may not be built out for 4 or 5 years, but the bike trails and the sidewalks are in. So in order to stay consistent, the staff perspective on this, as has been echoed in the past, would be to follow the ordinance and to require sidewalks with this land division.
Thank you, Ken.
I have a question. Most of that is required for millionaires that are getting a TIF program on big developments. This is a development that's already been sitting there, and it's only three units, and it's those people in that area are not looking for sidewalks at this time. To me, I believe it is unnecessary to have it put in at this time on Lacey Road. I don't believe it's a necessity, especially for people who've been on that road for years, and all of a sudden they're going to get assessed for sidewalks.
Okay, I think that was the didn't have any more public comments, correct? Correct. Okay, Dave, do you want me to hand this over? I didn't mean to step in here, we were just, oh, and you're on mute, sorry.
Dave, you're muted.
Sarah, why don't you continue to lead the meeting since you started, but I would like to make a comment.
Okay, well, I think we can just move forward. This is listed as a discussion item, so I know Dave spoke up, so yeah, I think we're just open and,
Okay. Well, the things I've been very adamant about being consistent as Patrick mentioned. But here, we're not giving them a pass on putting a sidewalk in. We're having them put a sidewalk in where I feel it's needed. It is a redevelopment. I don't feel like we're taking an exception, and I would like to echo Mr. Wilburn's point. The funds, I believe we're putting a sidewalk in that is needed for that, and I don't feel like we're being that inconsistent with this development. So I'm opposed to the Lacey Road sidewalk requirement.
I guess I'll chime in for my comments so it did drive past this area, and I have looked at Google Maps, and I definitely encourage everyone to look at Google Maps, because I think that it does sound a little unclear, because just for clarification, it doesn't go to nowhere. There is that one block that doesn't have sidewalk, but from Fish Hatch to Oak Knoll, there's sidewalk. Then there's a break from Oak Knoll to Richardson. But at Richardson with the church, it picks up again. So I guess it doesn't, it's not true that it doesn't go to anywhere, that it's just, yes, this segment. And I believe, as it's kind of been mentioned, that the process then was to put in these sidewalks as development occurred, so that it wouldn't have to be kind of a one-time hit for individuals. So it does connect. It just wouldn't be continuous, but it would be part of this process of getting a sidewalk. And I know from the commentary that there obviously is the school further down, so there's a benefit, there's the church, that there is traffic and pedestrians moving on that road. So it's just the one segment that doesn't have sidewalk that this would be starting that off.
Excuse me, but that sidewalk ends up where the old fire station is. It's not getting the kids anywhere near that school.
I think that's where the crosswalk is, though, is then at that old fire station.
Well, they
And it
have to
gets
go,
them to the crosswalk.
they'd have to go across and work their way around through Wildwood North to get to that school. They don't go down the street.
Are we still taking more public comment, or?
No, public comment was closed. I apologize. And this is and Bill, I bet you actually have a legitimate statement arranged. So I apologize. I did not mean to go around your comment. Would you like to kick us off? Because you did provide us a lot of information in our packet. No, we can't hear you.
Doc, does this thing work? Is it on now? Okay. Just, I guess a couple things.
I'm sorry, I've gotten really unorganized, so I'm trying to get this back on track. The public comment is closed. I appreciate you coming in. We appreciate your comment. But Bill, do you mind getting back? Do you have your statement? I did not mean to discount all the information that you did provide.
Thank you. The report that I submitted for the packet tonight outlined the process that the CSM had gone through for approval through Plan Commission. And staff did recommend that the sidewalk be installed along all of the property that's being subdivided. And that's per our ordinances that we have that requires that to be all improvements be installed to the plat limits. So that's what we were following when we put that in there. The Plan Commission did recommend that the sidewalk be installed on Oak Knoll Road or Oak Knoll Drive, but then asked that a waiver or a deed restriction be placed on the plat for Lacey Road for future owners to waive their right to contest assessment for future sidewalk installation. and that the recommendation be considered when negotiating the subdivision improvement agreement. According to our ordinance, we did not put that in there because it's an ordinance that the sidewalk be installed to the plat limits. The waiver that was requested by the Plan Commission, we also felt that it wasn't a good precedent to be setting to put that upon future property owners where the developer has to pay for all of the expenses of putting in the infrastructure at this time with all the developments that we have been doing. So if we were to say to any developer coming in, yeah, you can just put that off on a future property owner and we'll assess you for it, then that goes against what we've been doing all along in the city of Fitchburg to have those developers put in the improvements at the time of platting. The improvements that we required for sidewalk, it's part of the subdivision improvement agreement. The subdivision improvement agreement we have put in place so that we can ensure that it's installed with the proper specifications and design. And as I had mentioned that we had done this, for years and years and years for all the development. We are consistent across all developers to require this, and so that we for the installation of this. As you had mentioned, Alder Schroeder, or is it Schrader?
It's Schroeder, but it's
Schroeder.
fine. You're good.
Okay, thank you. That Lacey Road has a lot of sidewalk installed from the east side traveling to the west, and not only are we trying to link together the east to the west, but we're bringing the trail in 2021 or 21. We're bringing the trail on Lacey Road from Fitch-Verona to Seminole Highway. The development that's along between Seminole Highway and the school is going to be installing a trail along their property. So we're up to the school now coming from the west. I'm working with the City of Verona School District on a safe routes to school where we would extend a trail on the south side of the road past the fire station to Savannah Oaks Middle School and have a nice crossing with flashing lights at that location. So that would link everything together up to Richardson Street, leaving one block that does not have the sidewalk. And then we've got sidewalk all the way down Lacey Road to Cyane Road. It's going to be connected up to the roundabout, up Lacey Road all the way into Terravessa. So we'll have an east-west connection all the way through the city of Fitchburg, probably within the next 5 to 6 years. The extension of the sidewalk in the subdivision or in the CSM area is an extension that will work toward that goal of installing the sidewalk all the way to Richardson. The gap that's there with the 7 lots in between will have to be worked out as to how the city wants to pay for that, whether that be through assessment or the city picks up the cost because we feel that it's a benefit to the whole community and that it would increase the safety through that area. So as I said, we're following the ordinance that we have to install, that we've been consistent through all of the agreements that we've been bringing before the Board of Public Works and the City Council, and that's the reasoning behind that. I did put some statistics in the report regarding Lacey Road traffic, that the speed limit on the road is posted at 35, but the 85th percentile, most of the people are traveling are between 38 and 40 miles per hour out there. And there's a high volume of truck traffic, and about a little over 1% were exceeding the speed limit by 10 miles an hour. It's just not a good condition to have, pedestrians and cars go right that close together walking out on the road, and most certainly would result in a severe injury or a fatality. The street lighting isn't the best out there. We have street lights every 300 to 400 feet and at intersections. So there's going to be gaps of darkness out there. And I've seen many people walking out there with dogs at night or running at night that you don't see them until you're right on top of them in the road. So I would propose that, we would come forward with a project for sidewalk in that area in the next couple of years. I think it would meet the warrants as a hazard to install that sidewalk. That's pretty much in summary what I had. The ordinances that in the approved resolutions, that we fairly apply them to all the subdivisions for the agreements, and that the Plan Commission did reach a consensus on the recommendation of the Board of Public Works about the deed restriction. But as I mentioned, the Public Works did not follow that recommendation because of the ordinance that was in place to require that. And that's pretty much what I had for this agenda item. I included all of the minutes, reports, agreements, and everything in there that have been approved.
Okay, can I say one last thing, and then I gotta leave? No disrespect, but I was supposed to be out of here about 15 minutes ago. Can I say one last thing? Real quick?
We are closed, but you've
Just-
already spoke up, so sure.
Okay, listen, if you guys want sidewalks on Oak Knoll, let me know. I'll work with you, all right? I don't have no problem letting this grow as a bunch of weeds. I can sit on it for the next 20 years, rent out the house. I don't have to put sidewalks in at all, right? So it's totally up to you guys, all right? But I'm not gonna, spend $50,000 to put in sidewalks on 2 parcels that people have to shovel and maintain and they can't use. And I don't want to hear about the school children. That's all Madison schools. They're not walking down to the Verona School District. So I just, I don't care. It'll just be weeds. There'll be no sidewalk. We'll never connect it. It's up to you guys. But if you want to chip in and spend $7,000 and move the transformer that happens to be there that was put in the wrong spot, and you want to help out with some of it, I'm here to work with you. But I'm not going to spend $50,000 to put in sidewalks that don't go anywhere and nobody uses. So it's really up to you guys. I don't care. So that's all I got. I got to go.
Bill, I have a question for you.
Okay, Dave, I'm sorry. Did you have something that I think I heard you?
I have a question for Bill. Is that okay? Pardon?
Yeah, go ahead.
You were saying something about possible path coming from the other way down to the school
Right.
west. No, that's only going to be if
I'm sorry, is your microphone on, or is it, we're having a hard time here?
it's on, but you were saying that if in a couple of years that was going to happen, right? Possible.
Possible.
Yeah. What is wrong with letting this sit for 2 years, that one area, and get it all done at the same time? I mean, to help this guy out and get 3 buildings up, which we might be getting $16,000 worth of taxes on it. I guess, I just don't understand why we can't give a little leeway here for 3 years while you extend the whole thing down, especially if you're gonna have a bike path and everything going to the school. To me, that only sounds reasonable for the taxpayers sitting on that street.
If I heard you correctly, the question was just why wouldn't we just wait and do it all at once?
Yeah, especially if you're gonna be doing it within a couple of years anyway, the way it sounded.
Got it. We just were having a hard time online. I apologize. Bill, do you have a?
Yeah, the agreement has a 4-year sunset on it, so they have 48 months to install the improvements. So it would fall within that if they chose to do the stuff on Oak Knoll, then waited a couple of years to see what happened. But they would have to provide a letter of credit for the entire development for the improvements.
I think part of the issue is who's responsible for it. The reason we have the ordinance the way that it is because the developer is required to pay the infrastructure costs to get the land developed. Now, yes, you're right. This is only a small development compared to the big Terravesas and those kinds of things. But it's the principle and the consistency behind it all. It's if you don't have him put in the sidewalk, his complaint is how expensive it is. And people shoveling, and I mean, I bet if you asked every citizen in Fitchburg who has a sidewalk how many love shoveling in the middle of winter, you're not going to get a very high response. But the thing is, if it doesn't go to the developer's responsibility, it's going to go to the person who is building on the lot, on the one lot that's empty already. And there are constraints on that lot. There's topography issues, there's the transformer, there's different kinds of things. But the time to address it is the time you're going to be putting a new house on that lot, rather than letting them build a house the way they see it, the way they want it, and then all of a sudden you come back 3 or 4 years later to try to put in a sidewalk, and they have, you know, the elevation of their house, their driveway. I mean, you open up a whole nother set of problems by delaying the sidewalk from being installed. And yes, I understand it's 2 lots and there's still 7 more that don't have it, but if it's in the city's long-range plan that sidewalks need to be constructed on there, I think the time to do it is when the development is occurring. And I also agree wholeheartedly with Bill that, you know, the traffic on Lacey Road there are a lot of people biking, walking, and those kinds of things. I do believe that it would be used. I've seen people where there aren't sidewalks go from the road to the sidewalk for those 2 houses and then continue to go down. It's really not a safe condition the way that it is. And, you know, I'm not sure what the recourse is for getting the sidewalk put on the other 7 lots, but I think we're just pushing it. We're pushing the issue from the developer to the property owner who buys that house now, or if they live there 2 years and sell it to somebody else to the next one, to have to deal with first the development in itself as to how the house was built and how that type of thing. Is it even conducive to putting a sidewalk in? And then putting the onus on the property owner to have to pay for it rather than having the developer, which is the purpose of the ordinance to begin with. So I'm in favor of leaving the sidewalks in the ordinance the way that it is. I think that for consistency's sake and for safety and, you know, future plans down the road, that this is the time to do it.
I had one thing.
Yeah.
I've read through a couple of previous ordinances about sidewalks, and say we have him put this in, we can't force those other property owners along there to accept sidewalks unless the large, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Wilborn, you sent me those documents. I don't think we can force those other property owners to accept the sidewalk to connect it in. Am I correct?
That's the way I read the ordinances. You can't
That's
force
how
it.
I read it too. Is Alder Clotter still there?
Yes, he is.
I think, Bill, I believe that I'm assuming you could speak to that for the ordinance, because that is in the long-term plan, correct?
Yeah, in the packet, I've got the maps that show that are affected by the resolution, which was passed in 2016, that indicates that in order to install the sidewalk in these neighborhoods, you have to have 75% of the property owners in favor of the installation, and it has to be requested by the neighborhood itself. This section of Fitchburg falls outside of that. It's not included in the area for the sidewalk ordinance. Oh gosh, where's our maps? It's right there in the report. So, yeah, it does fall outside of that. So we could require the sidewalks to go in as a city.
I guess I don't understand how all of a sudden an existing area can fall outside of it and not be considered existing area anymore. It is Fitchburg's existing area, and they should not be forced into sidewalks unless they want them.
Well, that's not the case. I mean, I think when the city did this ordinance, there was a lot of people who requested, and I think I might have been on planning commission at the time it was done. But there were a lot of people who do not want sidewalks. Yes, I understand that. That's why they came. But the city has to look out for long-range planning and safety. So they exempted certain areas that they felt were going to be important, that at some time in the future, they were gonna need sidewalks. So those maps were drawn, and that's the way it was passed. And there are several locations where it, like Bill stated, you do not have to have the 75% of the people petitioning for the sidewalk, because the city has reserved the right that they think their major traffic corridors, bike ped corridors, wherever, where they might be needing them in the future. So at that point in time, when they did that in 2016 or 15 or whenever it was, they looked ahead at their long-range planning, the comp plan, and said, these areas, we cannot restrict ourselves if we want it. So that was written into the ordinance at the time they did it. They have maps in there that have been approved, and this location is not in the area where you have to have the 75% of the property owners petitioning to get a sidewalk.
The ordinance I looked at, Kim, didn't reference that at all. And Mr. Wilburn said we don't see that referenced anywhere.
Well, it's in the packet that Bill provided us that has the maps that show these locations.
And I believe that is the most recent one.
So where does this go? I mean, we're only reviewing it. We're not voting on anything tonight. So what's the final recourse of action? Are you just trying to gauge Bill or Sarah, or I don't know if the mayor's still there, or it doesn't look like Pat went up, what the planning committee, what the Board of Public Works feelings are, or what's the end result here?
Dave, I know you had asked to have this on the agenda, so I don't know if you just want to.
I would like us to take an action, either,
You can't take an action if it's not on the agenda.
okay. Oh, it is it on the agenda we're discussing?
Not as a review only.
Okay, all right. Well, then that was my intent, is to, have this discussion, and then after, might be the next meeting, I'd like to have it on for a vote. I believe Public Works should be on record one way or the other.
Well, I think Public Works is on record though, correct, from the previous time that it passed. So I think we do have a voice on record.
I don't
Just for
recall,
document,
I
for
guess I don't
documentation.
recall that.
Yes.
I believe I'm going by what the property owner talked about, that he indicated that that had changed on him when he came last time. Now, I might be not recalling that properly, but, if we voted on.
Planning Commission and Council, that's where the change happened, between Planning Commission and Council, not Board of Public Works.
Yep, Works was consistent. And the Planning Commission, they really did just kind of have that mentality of kicking the can. So they didn't say no either, is my understanding. It was just putting the responsibility, like Kim was saying, on the actual property owner rather than the developer, which I think that seems very strange to me. That I think Kim's point's exactly of when you have a house built, how you accommodate your elevation, if you put in flower beds, that just doesn't seem very fair to the property owner to know what they're getting into, where I think it makes sense that that's why the ordinance puts it on the developer, so that we're being as transparent as possible of what the property owner will be expected to maintain and the property that they are working with.
Well, I think we heard from him. We want to force it, he's just not going to do it.
He's the developer, right? He's selling that lot. He's
Yeah.
not, he's the property owner right now, but he's not going to be the property owner that lives in where a new house, where that empty lot is.
I just got a feeling the more you mess with it, it's gonna sit for 3 years just like it is. He's not gonna go putting that sidewalk in on Lacey. Too expensive, plus there's a big transformer that got put in the wrong place to start with, way back when there, and now they expect him to move that. I don't think he should have to move that. It was put where it didn't belong way back when, and now he has to get stuck with that as well. I'm just, where I'm coming from is I think the guy has a legitimate excuse.
And I guess from my perspective, I sympathize, but I also think that we have ordinances in place and we try to be transparent and consistent to make it so when people are researching properties to purchase and develop, they can understand what to expect. And I think that can work against us then, that if we change our precedent, I think it leaves it open for future problems where I, without a doubt, sympathize, but that's why these ordinances are in place, is an attempt to be transparent and be clear as to what the expectations are and potentially what should be researched when land is purchased. So I know, and I guess since this is a discussion item only, I don't know if I just close this discussion item or okay, Dave, I see you nodding. So if we just say, this was a good discussion, we'll kind of see as to what comes next, but we don't have any action to take, so it was just,
Get the facts out.
yep. Okay, so then we'll move on to item number. I can't hear you, Bill, if you're.
I just need to do my report now.
Oh, yes, please, sorry.
Okay, you cut out for a second. I didn't hear what you were saying.
Oh, I apologize. Yep, we're on number 5 now, report from department.
Yeah, we're just doing a lot of construction. We set the bridge over McKee Road last week, so that went well. And Fish Hatchery Road, the walls are going up. And we closed down Traceway Drive this morning, so we're getting some new signs up on Fish Hatchery Road so that they'll alert traffic that they need to, or before Traceway Drive, that they'll have to take Post Road to access Traceway Drive to help out for direction in that area. So that's coming. Gosh. The signals for McKee, or for MM and Lacey Road are going up, or will be later this week. So we've got those going for construction. Subdivisions, we've got Crescent Crossing, the curb went in out there, so we're going forward with that. Tonight we've got a plat for Terra Vesta First Edition that we'll be approving a subdivision improvement agreement for. So construction is pending on that one. Fahey Fields Phase 4 just started up last week, so they're out there grading and getting ready for utilities out there. We also have an agreement tonight to consider that. And gosh, yeah, we've just been pretty busy with all of that, trying to figure out all our new routes for snow plowing for next year, because we took in about 5.5 miles of streets last year, and then with yeah, it's just been an ongoing, just trying to get things organized for the snowfall as well. So.
Any questions for Bill? Wonderful. Let's move on to our agenda items, the resolutions. So if I could have a motion for 6A.
Move approval of 6A.
Wonderful. That is the resolution R-15820, the affidavit of correction for the transportation project plat, renaming Pike Drive east of Fish Hatchery. Bill, do you mind speaking to this one?
I'll second the motion.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Kim. I apologize.
You're welcome.
We had a request from Andy Bowman to rename Pike Drive, which has been installed next to UW Credit Union, to Ochala Drive, I think it is. And the family had previously lived in the area on 2901 Fish Hatchery Road, and they worked at the Bowman dairy plant for years and years and years. And he thought it would be a really good homage to the family to show that they appreciated, their part in the community for their work in the community at the dairy. So the request is to rename Pike Drive to the Ochala Drive for this resolution.
I have a quick question. Their UW Credit Union's address is Fish Hatchery, correct?
Yes,
And so there's nobody, since this road isn't there except for what's right on the corner, there's nobody that has the address of Pike Drive in this area, so nobody would have to change, correct?
correct.
Okay.
Good point.
I have
Any
one
other
question.
questions? Oh, Dave, sorry.
I have
I
one
had
question.
nothing, sir.
Oh, go ahead. Does Bill, or does Dave Herbst have one ahead of me?
Nope.
No.
I guess the only question I would have on this is, how was it named Pike to start with? Was that somebody that was important in the neighborhood at one time or another? Now we're gonna take his name off for somebody else or what?
The Pike Drive would have been an extension from the current Pike Drive that's at the intersection of Coho and Pike, where it would extend down the hill past BMO and connect into where the current location is by UW Credit Union. And that may or may not happen into the future. So this road is pretty much a dead end right now.
Okay, that's all I wanna know, as long as we're embracing somebody that
Yeah.
was important in the neighborhood way
They
back.
were named after fish, Dave. It was Turbo, Pike, Coho.
It was the fish theme.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions or comments on this? All right, then all those in favor say aye.
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 Any against nay? All right, motion carries. Then let's move on to 6B. If I could get a motion for approval?
I'll move approval of 6B.
Second from Herbst.
Thank you. This is the first amendment for Fahey Fields. Bill, do you mind talking about this one?
The Fahey Fields plat included all of the lots for 5 phases. And with the 4th phase that's going forward, we had a change to the water main installation where we're going to be upsizing that to a 12-inch. And that triggered an amendment to the agreement where we're going to reimburse the property owner the difference between the 10-inch and the 12-inch water main on Notre Dame Drive. The amendment also includes the changes that have recently occurred to the Wisconsin statutes regarding building construction, when you can take out your permits, when payment of fees need to be included, building and occupancy permits, the requirements that we put into our agreements now for the qualifications you need to do to take out those permits and sub-agreements for indemnification and what they need to do in order to start building before all of the infrastructure is accepted. Previous to the statute change, the city of Fitchburg only allowed construction of permitted construction after all of the improvements in the subdivision have been accepted and approved. But with the statute change now, building developers can take out a foundation permit right after the water main, and you have an accessible drive, street, and then they can take out a full building permit as soon as the asphalt is down. So these are some additional requirements we put into our subdivision improvement agreement in order to account for those changes and to give some protection to the city so that, and the developer too, that infrastructure doesn't have to be reconstructed due to damage by building contractors.
Questions or comments on this one? If I'm understanding, these are kind of all changes that need to occur because of that amendment. And the changes are detailed within that amendment. Is that kind of a vague understanding, Bill?
That's correct. The agreement that The original agreement did not have these stipulations in there. And when an amendment comes forth with that original agreement, we change it all to the current standards.
That makes sense.
Well, this will be a change on everything moving forward also,
Yes, all,
all new developments.
right. The First Amendment subdivision improvement agreement for Terra Vesta tonight has all of this language in there. So all new agreements have this language in there.
All right, sounds like we can take it to a vote. All those in favor of resolution R 15720, say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. Then we're moving on to 6C. If I could get a motion for approval of 14520.
I'll move approval of resolution R 14520.
Second that motion.
Great. Bill, you mind speaking to this one?
Scott Endel's here tonight. He wanted to give a quick report on
I
the item that.
Thank you, Bill. Good evening, everyone. This is kind of our last leg in the construction of 8 pickleball courts in Fahey Fields Park, which was actually a 2020 CIP project, which Mayor Richardson included in his CIP budget for 2020. And I don't know if you've got just to kind of get ourselves acquainted with the area, I did include in your packet the McGaw Park Master Plan. That was a master plan that was approved in 2012. And at that time, the Fahey Fields development wasn't there, but we were anticipating that development to the west. And you can kind of see the area. And actually, I gave you a second picture, which is the aerial. It's a 3-tiered park going from south to north. And the area that we are developing is the center section. The northern and southern areas are just going to be open athletic fields for, a variety of open athletics. And the middle part, and you can kind of see that this was anticipated when we did the McGaw Park Master Plan. We were looking to do some amenities in the middle part of this park, which included, a shelter, potentially bathrooms, playground, hard courts, and with the mayor's CIP project, the decision was kind of made that we're looking to do some pickleball courts here in McGaw Park, actually. And just another note, we do have 2 community parks within the community, and those are our larger parks. And really with the hard courts, the tennis courts are at McKee Farms Park. And then these will be pickleball court, designated pickleball courts in this community park. They, just to define it, we're going to have 8 pickleball courts there, which will be ADA compliant. We're another project that you may recall, we are going to extend water from the Crossings development to the south, and then that'll go to the east and connect and loop in with Fahey Fields. But then we're also going to take a water line, a city water line, to the existing shelter in McGaw Park to the east. That's currently on a well, and we've had high nitrates in the well. There's a lot of sand in it, so we're taking this chance to get that shelter on city water. We've got a 34 parking stall, regular parking stalls, 2 ADA stalls, which will certainly serve the pickleball courts, but will also serve the future practices and athletic events that go on the north and the south side of this development. I will tell you that this project is funded entirely through park improvement fees and fee in lieu of park plan dedication. So there'll be no city tax dollars that go to the development. Certainly once it's built and all of those kinds of things, it'll be part of our operational expenses. We did do one addendum because we are having 2 projects here. We got to get the water in first. and then the paving would come in over the water. So we did amend the schedule. The contractor, they will be coming in and doing the base work this fall, and then they'll come in and pave first thing in the spring with the completion date of July 1 of 2021. And I would take any questions if you have them.
Did you say this 500,000 is gonna cost to do this isn't gonna come from the taxpayers?
That is correct. We, when the Fahey Fields development came in, there's parkland dedication requirements. So this 12-acre parcel was part of that.
Scott, is the,
Pardon me?
is the money in the bank?
The money's in the bank. Drawing interest.
1%.
I guess I'm confused. Is this
I like the project.
because of the water main then?
You broke up there a little bit, Sarah.
Sorry, is this coming to works because of the water main?
Well, no, generally, every public construction project within the city, we should come to Public Works so they're aware of what we're doing. So
Right.
this is just a general construction project within the city, so it's good that we take it to Public Works so they kind of know what we're working on.
Got it, thank you.
Parks is under bill also, so.
Park maintenance is, yes.
And I know my internet's cutting out, but is there any other comments or questions?
No, I think it's actually a really good addition. I know a lot of people, pickleball has become very, very popular, and a lot of people are using the tennis courts to play pickleball now. So actually having, a new area for designated pickleball courts, I think will be a great use and enhance the recreation in the city.
Thank you.
I would second that, Kim. A lot of people demand, it's just the timing just sucks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's the only, I'm very supportive of park projects. It's a hard time, going to what's going to be hitting the tax bills come, and I realize it's dedicated, but it's still the optics right now are bad.
Well, and Dave, it's kind of a case of, if we don't spend the money, we lose it, and there's residents, and, that's kind of, I think we'd be making a mistake if we don't continue with the part, certainly, and I understand the capacity and all those kinds of things, but we got to keep rolling on.
Why don't you use the money next year?
Well, the mayor put it in a CIP for 2020, so it's my job to get it done for him. So that's what we're working on.
I have a question. Is there any access for the people that don't have a whole lot of money in the city to be able to get to McGough Park to play? Where we're gonna have it?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite understand that.
Is there any access for the needy that don't have a whole lot of money that live in the city of Fitchburg gonna have access to get to McGough Park to play it?
Well, there's plenty of bike paths and things like that. So the parks are open, so it's not a case that they wouldn't be able to play, but, hopefully they can get there.
I guess another point, sort of in answer to Dave's, I understand the timing doesn't really look good, but it's, it is an opportunity. It's doing something outside that people can do and still enjoy the outside and instead of sitting inside. And we already have a lot of things to worry about. So going out and getting some physical exercise, I think encouraging people to try to stay active and do things will be an added benefit for the city.
And maybe just one other caveat too, we are in communication with the pickleball group in the area, and they're very interested in organizing pickleball leagues and pickleball lessons. And what we would do is, offer these programs through the rec department, and we'd collect a rental fee and those kinds of things. So there are some potential revenues for these kinds of, they're not a lot of money, but certainly there's opportunity for revenues for these types of facilities.
I love, my wife plays great sport. I just, like I say, I got people walking by my house that are retired and are yelling at me every time, about their assessment and this and that. And I realize, Scott, that it's come out of parkland dedication fees, but like I say, the optics right now are just, are my issue. Sorry.
Not to worry, not to worry.
For transportation too, Scott, do you know if the senior center would potentially consider offering seniors rides or anything? Just trying to think of.
Certainly. I don't see why not.
This would be used a lot. This will become very popular. I'm convinced of that. But for it become popular in another year.
And that's the other point too, is I think when things are being built, the time when the taxpayers have the most issue is when it's built and when it sits there and nobody does use it. If it does get used, they can see it as a benefit and a use to, it's building something and then having it sit there and nobody using it. That's where it really causes a lot of angst for people.
Good point, Kim. Good point.
Any other questions or comments for this one? All right, I think we'll go to a vote then. All those in favor of resolution 14520 for pickleball courts, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
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 In my position then, it sounds like it fails.
Did you vote?
I don't think I can, right?
Yes.
Yes, you
Yes, you can vote. You can vote.
Oh,
Yes, absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I would say aye, but then we're in a tie.
That is a tie. And
That's the way it is.
Not just to interject, you can certainly, we just put it on the referral page that Board of Public Works voted 2-2, and then the Park Commission will actually take action on Thursday, and then we'll put that on the referral, and then the Common Council, they'll take all of those thoughts under consideration and make the final decision. So
Yep.
that's perfectly fine.
It can be a tie, yep. Thank you, Scott.
Okay,
You're
thank you.
welcome.
I apologize. I thought it was just that the chair had only vote in a case of a tie. So if we're
you can
comfortable with the, okay. Thank you. All right, so that'll go down as 2-2 and it'll be referred to Parks. That sounds good. Then moving on to 6D, if I could have a motion for approval.
So, resolution R160-20.
Perfect. Bill, you want to speak to this one?
Yes, this is an amendment to or not an amendment, this is a new agreement for the first edition of Terra Vesa. Terra Vesa is going to be including another 79 lots within the subdivision. And it's the extension of several of the existing roads as well to connect up to the area adjacent to the park and the wetland area. So this is our standard subdivision improvement agreement that we have developed for all developments, and staff is recommending approval of the agreement.
Questions, comments? This sounds pretty standard, like you said, Bill. All right. So we'll move to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. 6E, if I could get a motion for approval for 13320.
Dave Herbst will move approval.
Lobdell, second.
Bill?
This is a resolution for a 5-year lease agreement with Rico USA for a copier. It's the same copier that we have, and it's about $85 a month less for the lease copy. So we're saving about $1,000 a year with going with this lease. It's the agreement's been approved by the city attorney, so that's been finalized, and we're asking for approval to approve the lease for our copier.
Any questions, concerns?
Looks like it's a pretty good deal to me.
How much use are you getting out of the copiers nowadays? I know with hardly anybody in our office, we've got them, and it seems like we never hit our monthly maximum now, but hopefully that situation will change soon, and I do understand that you need them then, so.
Yes.
All right, if we take it to a vote then, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. On to number 7, announcements. The next Board of Public Works is September 21st, unless any
I have a question before we sign off.
then I'll take a motion for, oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
I say I have a question before we sign off tonight, before we adjourn. Clouder brought up some interesting things about people that are having problems, and supposedly, I always understood you could not divert from your property to somebody else's. That was a no-no in this city from I moved out here before few people ever got here. I've been here since the early 1970s, and I don't believe you're allowed to do that. I don't know why there isn't some ordinance stating that somewhere.
I think there is. I'll just got to find it.
Because, I mean, there's a lot of people having that problem right now.
It might be a state statute or something, Dave, instead of like a city ordinance.
I think you're right, Kim.
Yeah, I know I've seen something, but I'm pretty sure what I saw was a state statute or BNR, or, you know, something that has to do with that the city is required to follow, but it doesn't need to be a specific city ordinance. So I'll ask some of our people over here too, Bill, and see if we can lead you in a direction where we can show you where something like that might be.
All right, thank you.
Bill, would you mind having that just be as a follow-up on the next one? Because those were interesting points that Tom brought up tonight.
Sure.
Thank you.
Dave, is there anything you want to have brought up next meeting?
No,
Okay.
I'm fine. Thank you.
All right, I would take a motion for adjournment then if,
Move we adjourn.
I'll second.
Second it.
all right, and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for writing the meeting, Sarah.